Now then, in this short video I'm going to review the PHD Snowline Bivvy again. I've been using it through the autumn and through the early part of winter this year, and it's been a superb piece of kit, and there's some interesting details that have come out from actually using it in the UK mountains. I carry it instead of a tent, but I also take a tarp with me. I've got the MSR Through Hiker 100 wing with me. It packs down very small, which is why I like it so much. The snow, and I use the tarp if I can't find shelter under a boulder or in a small cave, or shelter from the elements. If it's going to really be wet, I've got a tarp, and I just use that with my trekking pole. So it's a really super piece of kit. But there's a few things come out of using the Snowline which I really like. Inside it I've got an M Degree 250. I'll just take that out a minute. This is the bag I've been using this winter, and there's a few things to show you. Of course, the Snowline Bivvy is a waterproof bivvy. It's made out of Dry-Alex fabric, a waterproof membrane, a laminate membrane fabric, a 2-layer breathable membrane, and it's all the seams are tapeable. That's why I like it. So it's fully waterproof, tapeable and breathable. But what's unique about the Snowline is it's got a layer of insulation on the inside of it, and I'll just turn it inside out so you can see it. The outer is Dry-Alex, the inner is MX fabric, sleeping bag fabric, and then between the two, between the outer shell and the inner liner, is Primaloft Gold. It's 60 gram Primaloft, so it adds a layer of insulation to the bag, and the reason I've done that is to solve the problem of condensation on the inside of a bivvy bag. Bivvy bags are really awkward to use. They're fine for a night, maybe two, but the problem with them is condensation inside them usually wets a sleeping bag, and over time, if you're using them for a multiple day trip, several nights use, the sleeping bag can get wetter and wetter simply because it's mopping up the water inside a bivvy bag. Well, the Snowline deals with that problem by putting a layer of insulation between the sleeping bag and the outer layer of a bivvy bag, the breathable waterproof layer, and that's where the cold air is on top of it, and underneath it you get your condensation. So the insulation solves that. So first of all, the first thing that I've been really pleased with this autumn and this winter is that my sleeping bag's dry when I get it out of the bivvy bag in the morning. There's no wetness at the feet or anywhere or underneath it. It really gives me a dry result. So I really like that about this bivvy. The second thing I like about it is the insulation does add warmth to my sleeping bag, and it'll add 7 degrees of lift to my sleeping bag. Now this is a M Degree 250, a really lightweight piece of kit, but it's rated at 0 degrees centigrade. So by combining it with a Snowline Bivvy bag, it's elevated the performance to -7, so it really pushes it into possibilities for winter camping in the UK. So I really like that. It really does give you a very protective piece of equipment. So that's the second thing I really like about the Snowline Bivvy, is it actually can be used as part of a sleep system, not just as a waterproof shell for your bag, but as a sleep system, and that allows you to take a much lighter sleeping bag. Just for instance, this is the stuff sack. This is the stuff sack for the Snowline Bivvy, and the sleeping bag will go into a small stuff sack as well, and they compress quite a bit as well. So what you're looking at there is a sleep system of 2 parts. You've got your Snowline Bivvy, and it goes into a small stuff sack, and a lightweight, summer weight really, sleeping bag. A very lightweight sleeping bag, and that again is very small. It's not big and bulky, it doesn't take up a lot of space in a rucksack. So that's the second thing. I really like the Snowline Bivvy for its sleep system potential of 2 layers of insulation. The inner layer is down, the outer layer is Primaloft. And then the third thing that I really like about it, and I didn't really expect this, didn't plan it, but the insulation, the Primaloft, is over the top and underneath you as well. It's all the way around the bag. And because when it compresses, Primaloft gives pretty good insulation even under compression. You get a lot of warmth even when it's squashed, when you're lying on it. It also adds comfort, and normally when I camp I take 2 sleeping pads or mattresses. I usually take a closed cell foam mat and an inflatable mat. The inflatable mats, they're often not very warm, but they do add a lot of comfort, and that's the real benefit of those inflatable mats. They really are really cozy to sleep on. But what I'm finding is with the Snowline Bivvy, because you've got some padding underneath you, you've got insulation from the Primaloft, but also a little bit of padding that's given there, even under compression, that now I'm only taking 1 ground insulation mat, and I just take a closed-celled foam mat. They're brilliant for winter and for bivvying. Of course, they're waterproof. They're closed cell, so they don't absorb any water at all. So they're waterproof, and they're absolutely perfect. And I find bivvying, just 1 mat is more manageable than 2. So the Snowline Bivvy, because of that padding that you get from the insulation, I'm finding it comfortable, and I've adjusted to just 1 mat. So there you are. I'm finding the Snowline Bivvy is a really enjoyable piece of kit for UK winter bivvying, and I'm often taking it instead of a tent now. Really enjoying it. All right, cheers.